Hey guys, Level Cap here. Today we're going to be reviewing the brand new medium machine gun in Battlefield 5, the S2-200. This is a machine gun that brings the smallest ammo capacity to the battlefield compared to any of the other medium machine guns, and yet I'm seeing a lot of players are actually enjoying this one and don't fully understand why, but they feel like it's a more aggressive weapon. And technically it is. We can get into the stats and details about it to figure out exactly why people might be preferring this weapon over some of the more iconic medium machine guns. First, let's talk about the history of this weapon just a little bit. This is a precursor to the MG34 and the MG42, more commonly referred to as the MG30. This weapon was developed in the 1930s, and it saw a little bit of use in World War II, although was quickly replaced by upgraded machine guns, or different machine guns. Now, this weapon was designed in Germany, but the design was licensed to several different countries, and the S2-200 is actually the Swiss-produced variant of this weapon. Now, in-game, this weapon stays true to its real-life counterpart in that it can only equip a 30-round sort of banana-style magazine in the side of it. You can't upgrade this magazine to hold more rounds. It's only ever going to shoot 30 at a time. However, it has an incredibly fast reload, on par with assault rifles or SMGs, so you can get another mag in there very quickly, but in terms of putting down sustained fire on enemies, it's not really going to do that as effectively as some of the other medium machine guns in the game. Now, interestingly enough, stat-wise, this weapon is actually most familiar with the MG34, the first medium machine gun that you unlock in this game. It's a weapon that I think many players have forgotten about or haven't used in a while, just because it's, you know, old news. People have known about it since the beta of Battlefield 5, and it's not a terrible MMG, but it just didn't have an insane rate of fire. What it did have, however, was an incredibly fast muzzle velocity and some of the most accurate focused hipfire in the game. In stats, they call it ADSing, but in game, it looks like focused hipfire. This is where, when you don't have the weapon bipoded and you go to right click to aim down sights, instead of aiming down sights, you just sort of zoom in a little bit. That's sort of the ADS equivalent on medium machine guns, and it's some of the most accurate with the MG34 and the S2-200. However, the main difference between the MG34 and the S2-200, aside from the ammo capacity, is that the S2-200 can upgrade its rate of fire from 770 to 900, allowing it to be significantly more effective in that focused hipfire combat range. Because the problem with focused hipfire is that although it's not the most inaccurate thing in the world, you still have to land 4 or 5 shots on your enemy, and when you're kind of spraying in a shotgun-like spread, well, the faster you can shoot, the more shots are going to land on target faster, and the more effective you'll be. An argument can be made to take the S2-200 down the lesser recoil path, which doesn't give it the rate of fire upgrade and keeps it at 770 rounds per minute. However, at that point, you may as well be running an MG34 for the most part, because the benefits you're getting from the S2-200 really aren't that much, and the MG34 can do mostly the same thing at 770 rounds per minute with a larger magazine. So I like taking the S2-200 down the upgrade tree that gives it 900 round per minute rate of fire. You can feel free to play with either side of the upgrade tree, see which one you like the best. The only thing I would definitely recommend not doing is getting the incendiary rounds at the end. You always want to get the faster bullets, because that bumps it up to an 840 meter per second muzzle velocity, which is pretty much as fast as MMGs get, and it makes it very easy to hit moving targets in the distance, which is why when you've got a 30 round magazine with this and you're bipoded up shooting at distant targets, you're like, oh yeah, I dropped that guy really fast. Hey, this gun's pretty darn good while bipoded. It's kind of like a little bit of a sniper rifle. And on that note, let's talk about the optics a bit, because this gun is accurate enough, has less enough recoil, that I feel like it could use a higher power, higher magnified optic to really deal with targets at further ranges. Sadly, MMGs are not equipped with higher powered optics. They probably weren't in the actual war also, but man, I think this gun could be significantly more effective. The irons are okay, but the irons give you a 1.5 times magnification, which is technically the highest you can get on an MMG. The problem I have is that the irons on this one block a lot of your visibility below the iron sights themselves, and I like a clear sight picture, so I use the anti-air sights, which give you a 1.25 magnification. You could also use the reflector sights, but those just give you a 1 times magnification, and they kind of darken up your picture a little bit. Thus, I like to go with the AA sights. That's my personal preference, but I really think that this MMG could benefit from like a 3 times optic or something. That would be pretty dope and kind of turn it into like an MMG sniper. So let's kind of recap the S2-200 a little bit here. DICE has made a 30 round magazine medium machine gun that can't be ADS'd, but it's got a very fast reload. So if you like to reload your weapons frequently, this has got that assault rifle speed reload. It's got pretty much the best focused hipfire accuracy out of any of the MMGs in the game, or at least most controllable recoil, rather. And it's got incredibly fast muzzle velocity and very good accuracy and low recoil for laser beaming targets at long range. So you give up a lot of ammo capacity, but what you gain are some pretty darn good benefits. Now, what this gun might also teach you how to do, and something that I think is important to do a lot of the time anyway as an MMG user, is to get a kill or two from one position and then move. Often what happens while you're playing with an MMG is you'll be mowing people down, you'll be like, yeah, I'm kicking butt, and then somebody will basically trace your tracer rounds back into where they're coming from and be like, oh, there he is, I'm gonna go ahead and snipe him now. And so your days are numbered, your time is limited from any single position as an MMG user, and so this weapon kind of teaches you to maybe get up and move while reloading. Since you have to reload so frequently, you only got a 30 round mag, which is good for pretty much 2 kills maximum per magazine. You're going to need to move around a lot more, and that'll teach you to move and redeploy frequently with MMGs, which is a good tactic to have, I think, across the board. I do it with even the higher ammo capacity MMGs anyway. I'll just get up and move in between kills if I think the enemy's gonna try and flank me or figure out where I am. So this weapon sort of plays into that playstyle really well. Now, of course, if you just want to be that guy who sits in one place, doesn't move, and just sprays and hoses down hallways and just puts down tons and tons of suppressive fire, then this isn't really the weapon for that. It's not designed for that. You could look at it as sort of a gateway MMG. Somebody who's like, I don't really like MMGs, but maybe I'll try this one out. This is the one that I think is the least punishing to try and get into that MMG playstyle, as it still allows you to do a little bit of running and gunning, although you're still ultimately hurt the most by the transition time from running into shooting, which again is the longest transition of any weapon in the game. So you just have to keep that in mind. Sprinting and reacting with MMGs in their current state is not really tenable for reacting and engaging enemies. You'll be dead before shots even come out of your gun. So walking and going to ADS, or just trying to be extremely aware of where your enemies are so that you don't come running in and then try and ADS quickly. You have to kind of run, stop, prepare, and ADS, and that'll give you those faster reaction times that you might expect from other weapons. So despite my cynicism about DICE adding yet another MMG to the game, where I don't really particularly care for MMG gameplay overall, this one does make MMGs a bit more fun, especially for people who really don't enjoy the specific qualities of MMGs. This one feels a little bit more like a hybrid weapon, even though you still can't ADS it. Bipod mechanics are still pretty bad in Battlefield 5. Having to rely on bipod deploys to ADS and then having the bipod just not deploy on many objects where you think it should is extremely frustrating. I don't know if DICE is ever going to fix that. It would require doing deep dives on all objects, all maps, all destruction, variants of buildings. Like, it's a huge process to probably refine and hone in bipod meta. So maybe they will one day. Maybe bipods will function all the time just as we expect them to, but at the moment, relying on bipod for accurate fire it's frustrating. It was frustrating in Battlefield 1, even putting down the AT rocket guns on places where you're hoping they would deploy. They didn't always deploy, and the problem has just become worse in Battlefield 5 because so many more weapons now need bipod mechanics. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this S2-200 weapon review, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap, signing off.